Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2575 Mars Project 1. After hearing Zhang Yi's words, the expressions of the 6 regional executives present became solemn. Indeed, they are now too dependent on Zhang Yi. Even the most powerful Hutu Guan Longhua only had an ability index of 48,000 points. Moreover, while her abilities have an extremely high ceiling, their floor is also very low. Even an opponent with 45,000 points could kill her if she couldn't obtain the enemy's biological tissue in advance. In the event of an invasion by alien races, she would have no advantage in facing them head-on. Ji Chonghai scratched his head, still feeling a little awkward. We can't just let others hit us without saying a word, can we? If we keep putting up with this, the people below will start to speak up too. You know, the temperament of people in northeast China is not very flexible. If someone actually comes to the door, I won't be able to stop them. We'll talk when we get to the door. Zhang Yi said, I only said not to rush up and bite people, not to tear down the door and welcome them in. Stop playing the victim with me. The Huashu kingdom is quite powerful right now. Unless they're courting disaster by fighting multiple alien races at the same time, nothing serious will happen. Li Guangxiao from the East China Sea region paused for a moment, speaking more slowly than the others. In that case, you should go. You have to think about the future. They understood what kind of person Zhang Yi was. Tell them that you are not consulting with them, but simply informing them. Even if I tried to dissuade them, it was no use, so I simply stopped trying. However, Huashu Kingdom has no precedent for landing on Mars. How confident are you? Li Guangxiao stared intently at Zhang Yi and asked. Of course we are well prepared for this trip to Mars. Zhang Yi reached out and made a gesture in the air, and an image was displayed in front of everyone, showing a red orbit pointing near Mars. 20 years ago, a guy named Elon Freeman from Colombia led a group there once. It's also in the pupil organization's files. The landing point he chose was called Mars Origin. This guy doesn't choose places randomly. There's probably a lot of resources in that area. Xiao Lai from the northwest had no expression on his face, and his voice was still that dry, hoarse tone. During the months you were gone, did the dragon clan show up? If they don't take care of it, we'll probably be the first ones to get groped in this area of the northwest. After all, the northwest region is located in the northwest of Huashu Kingdom and is a completely inland area. Unlike other regions, it is surrounded by coastlines. The dragons won't be that diligent in their duties. Zhang Yi said, that's why I told you to shrink back to the center. You're no longer spread out in a line, but rather a group of people huddled together. This way, it's harder for others to take advantage of you. Xiao Lai nodded and said nothing more. Chun Xuanba of the National Protection Army spoke, as if pieces of metal were clashing together. How long are you going to walk? If you say 3 months, everyone can hold on for a while. If you don't come back for a year, it will be hard to hold this grudge. I'll try to be as fast as I can. Zhang Yi put it very practically. Mars is currently only 78 million kilometers away from us. If the Dreamer spacecraft uses our modified engines, it can reach it in about a month. If all goes well, we can find the mineral deposit without any obstacles and then come back again in another month. However, if we have to deal with the local customs along the way, the time will be extended. Just calculate it as half a year, so you have a general idea of what will happen, instead of counting the days one by one. Meng Yuanjun of Shengjing finally spoke, looking at Zhang Yi with a somewhat complicated tone. Can I ask you one question? Do you really have to go in person? At your current level, you can actually delegate tasks to others. Even if something goes wrong, it won't affect the entire Huashu Kingdom. Although the speed will be slower without your spatial abilities, sending those mechanical life forms through is at least safer, and we won't feel too bad if something happens. Zhang Yi shook his head. The efficiency is too low and the cycle is too long. I don't want to waste any time. Meng Yuanjuan's intention was to have Zhang Yi stay behind and act as their protector. However, this doesn't offer any real benefit to Zhang Yi, so he will definitely prioritize his own interests. Guan Longnue sighed softly. To put it bluntly, you've already planned everything. You're just informing us to cooperate. Then we'll behave ourselves. If you tell us to retreat to the Central Plains, then we will retreat. You said not to fight with the surrounding alien races, and we won't fight either. But we need to know one truth. Will the political landscape of Huaxiu Kingdom change again after your return? She stared at Zhang Yi and asked earnestly, if you succeed, will the future of Huaxiu Kingdom no longer have to worry about any threats from other races? Zhang Yi crossed his arms and said calmly, that's most likely the case. But I'm not going to give you any guarantees. You can choose to believe it or not. He has no obligation to ensure the safety of others. This is Zhang Yi's style of doing things. When he is successful, he helps others. When he is unsuccessful, he focuses on his own well-being. He can do it out of interest, but nobody wants to put a burden on him. Huda took a deep breath and said nothing more. Luo Zhua from the southwest clasped his hands together and whispered something. Then we'll wait for you to come back. We'll do as you say. The representatives from each region nodded with complicated expressions. They had no choice but to agree, even if they disagreed. Okay, that's settled. Zhang Yi said, after I enter the universe, you can leave me a message if there are any issues, but due to the time difference, my reply will be slower. But at that time, I could only offer you advice. I couldn't return in the short term. Zhu Zheng quickly said, we will ask you to make decisions on all matters. After all, you are now the representative of Huaxiu Kingdom to the outside world. Regardless of what they were thinking, the meeting ended there. The living room lights were much warmer than the conference room lights, and the sea breeze outside the window was kept out, with only the warm air from the constant temperature system blowing gently. Yang Xinxin put the terminal aside and looked up at him. Their concerns are actually quite simple. I'm afraid that once you leave, people will think that the Huaxiu Kingdom is just an empty shell. Zhang Yi sat down opposite her, leaned back on the sofa, and let out a long sigh. I know that too. But if I don't leave now, once all the resources of these ancient civilizations are locked up, we won't be able to leave even if we want in the future. I, Zhang Yi, never want to place my hopes on others. I want to firmly grasp my own destiny in my own hands. He stretched out his right hand and clenched his fist tightly, as if he were holding on to his life and everything he cherished. Zhou Kur gently hugged his arm and rested her head on his shoulder. Of course you can do it. You have always been our source of reliance and pride. Chapter 2570, Mars Project 2. Zhang Yi reached out and stroked Zhou Kur's back, inhaling the fragrance of her hair. All right, let's set sail for Mars right away. Luke Heron plopped down on the coffee table and reached into her tool bag, rummaging through it. To be honest, I'm quite excited. The first time I went to the moon, I started throwing up even before I boarded the ship. This time I'm going to Mars. I want to see if humans can achieve the ability to dig wherever I want. Zhang Yi glanced at her and smiled. Don't get too excited yet. Mars isn't empty. After Freeman and his group went there was no news. They were either killed by the Martian natives or chose to establish their own kingdom, thus completely severing ties with Earth. We need to be careful this time and not just focus on sightseeing. Yang Xia tucked her hair behind her ear and spoke in a soft voice. You guys say there's civilization on Mars, but all I can picture are those long-legged little grays. If you look too strange, I can't help but laugh. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, as if leaving this dangerous planet was something she had longed for a long time. Who knows? I'm hoping there are Martians on Mars, because only when ancient humans migrated to Mars can it be proven that the place is truly rich in resources. But on the other hand, I don't want this mining trip to encounter any trouble. It's a real dilemma, Zhang Yi said with a smile. Bailey Chongqing's honest face still showed that hint of worry. Boss, are you really comfortable with things on the ground? That Mon Chi and that Nightmare Clan member, if they really hold a grudge, they'll come while you're away. They won't move that quickly. Zhang Yi waved his hand. The Dragon Clan just showed up once, and the atmosphere is still warm. Anyone who dares to slap us in the face right away would be telling the Dragon Clan, "I don't take you seriously." These old fogies have lived for so long. None of them would make a low-level mistake at this time. Besides, we shouldn't boost others' morale while diminishing our own. Deng Xintong and Bailey, you two stay in Tianhai City. We still have old friends at the bottom of the sea who can help in a critical moment. If something really happens, you can hold out for 6 months. Deng Xintong looked at Zhang Yi with some disappointment. Actually, I also wanted to go with you. Zhang Yi patted his shoulder with a smile. Management work suits you better. Stay here and enjoy your stay. When you come back, you'll be treated to some great things. Deng Xintong helplessly shrugged. His strength had now reached the level of the Black Chariot, but the gap between him and Zhang Yi was widening. Indeed, he could no longer provide Zhang Yi with much help on the front lines. The Mars mission plan was finalized, and there wasn't much to prepare. The entire city of Tianhai is on high alert at all times, and all supplies are stored in Zhang Yi's spatial storage, ready to be deployed at any time. However, Zhang Yi still looked at Liu Karen and said, "Combustible, check the Dreamer again. Especially the energy storage, engines, and defensive force fields. We must ensure they are all functioning properly. The magnetic field on Mars might be more troublesome than we imagine. I don't want to be rowing in space if the spaceship runs out of power halfway through the journey." Liu Karen covered her mouth and smiled. "Don't worry, I've been working on the engine these past few days and have done several rounds of maintenance on the spaceship. There won't be any problems." Zhang Yi gave her a thumbs up. Then he began to call for help. A few hours later, the protective shield in the port area was raised, and the Dreamer took off from the tarmac. This time, there were far more people boarding the ship than last time. Besides the core combat force, several laboratory directors from Tianhai City, 2 geologists, and an elderly astronomer were all carrying boxes and walking into the cabin, their expressions full of excitement. To mine more effectively, you'll need professionals. Tianhai City is teeming with talent. Its population of around 100,000 is full of capable people, and none of them are idle. You guys all came up? Zhang Yi noticed a bald, elderly professor queuing in the passageway and remarked with some surprise, "At your age, you should just stay in the lab doing research. Aren't you afraid you won't be able to come back?" The old professor laughed heartily, his beard trembling. "I'm scared, but it's worth it to be able to go to another planet and take a look. Besides, Your Majesty, aren't you here?" The old professor looked at Zhang Yi with eyes full of respect, even though he was old enough to be Zhang Yi's grandfather. "You are our guardian angel, and it is my honor to serve you." As he spoke, he bowed very respectfully. Under the relentless brainwashing of the spiritual lecturer Ma Wenjing, everyone in the entire Tianhai City worshipped Zhang Yi as a god. This is a compulsory course for every resident of Tianhai City, but they enjoy it immensely. Because Zhang Yi not only provided them with food and clothing, but also ensured their safety during the apocalypse, making their living conditions even better than before the apocalypse. This is something you wouldn't even dare to dream of anywhere else. Therefore, everyone in Tianhai City feels spontaneous respect and gratitude towards Zhang Yi. Otherwise, how could so many smart people have been brainwashed? Zhang Yi quickly reached out to help them up. "These elderly professors are treasures of humanity. Please don't let them get hurt." "Okay, let's go together then. But you can just provide guidance, don't go to the construction site yourself." As the spaceship slowly departed the port and passed through the atmosphere, a long trail of flame could be seen streaking across the sky throughout Tianhai City. Many alien detection towers have picked up this signal. But just as Zhang Yi judged, they only made a record and had no intention of intercepting them. Firstly, the dragon race had just appeared and possessed a powerful deterrent effect. Secondly, they also wanted to see what kind of trouble the human race's chaos was planning to cause. Anyway, his going to space won't harm the interests of any ancient civilization, so no one bothers to care. The Dreamer glided quietly through the darkness of space. The trajectory resembles an invisible silver thread, stretching from behind Earth all the way to the orbit of Mars. The outer shield of the ship occasionally rippled, a trace of cosmic particles brushing against it. This ship is no longer the original Dreamer. After Liu Karen modified it again and again, it became a real mobile fortress. It can be used for fighting, and it can also be lived in beautifully. If it weren't for the silent sea of stars outside the window, one might easily mistake this for a luxury cruise ship. On the data panel in the flight control room, a striking number is jumping. Current speed, 0.06 times the speed of light. Estimated arrival time, 26 days and 4 hours. By the time the system gave the notification, everyone on the ship had already started their vacation. For the next 26 days, there will be no enemy attacks, and there will be no need to worry about any official business. They just need to quietly enjoy the beauty of life. Here we end today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.